Well, hello. Welcome to another episode. This is Musings of a Sanguine Christian Woman. And so I've been trying to recover from a serious bloating, and that is one issue you have when it is hot out there. Maybe it's summer where you're at, or maybe it's just Hamatan, a mixture of dry season when it's not raining. Okay, it's not raining and the cool winds aren't blowing. So yeah, it does a number on the body system, and you need to take plenty of water. It's very important, but at the same time you have to mix it with warm water as well, or warm tea in the middle of it, to sweat out, to enable you to sweat out. You have to also take some spicy food, hot spicy food that is still hot, but not too much. So you have to mix everything together in moderation, because you don't want to fall ill. The body system is more prone to illness during heat than it is in during other weathers when the weather is cool and all of that. That heat just it just plays a number. So eating cold foods is certainly not what you want to do. If it is not ice cream, then make sure that you eat your food while it's still reasonably hot. So I just said I should tell you out there, and if you're feeling bloated, take warm water, take warm tea, right? Or that would work. Take warm tea. If you have mint tea, something that is a bit spicy, maybe warm tea, maybe warm tea. Of course, it's warm tea. Maybe with mint, bay leaf, lemon, something like that, to melt whatever is in the stomach. And if you have mint essential oil or lemon essential oil, you can massage your stomach with that and sleep on your stomach. Right, sleep on your stomach. So that will mount pressure on the stomach to release the gas that is in it, and to promote what is it called now, bowel movement. All right, so I hope you find that useful. And if you know somebody who is going through bloating right now, you can always please make sure to share this episode with them so that they can listen in, or you can just tell them by word, or you can just share, because that is not really what I want to talk about. But I just, like I said, this is going to be like a blog. So I'm going to be talking about some things that have to do with me, or what I'm up to that I am comfortable enough to share at the moment. So that's about it for now. So what really, there is a lot to talk about. And in the previous episode, I talked about friends and foes and all of that. So on there are a couple of guys or men call themselves Abba and Preach. I believe that's their names. So they're a duo who do YouTube. They have a YouTube channel that has a huge following. And why I don't follow them is because they curse and swear a lot, and I'm trying to clean my language. I can't do that now if I'm listening to people who curse and swear, because it would be my go-to when I'm upset or angry about something. I can be angry and still not have to curse and swear. Right, so that's why I don't listen to them much, because I have to brace myself for all the curse words and all of that, So I try to avoid listening to them. But if you're immune to that, then you should probably check them out and see some of the topics they have discussed. So they were talking about, apparently there is this podcast or maybe show where the girls, well, they're not girls, they're women actually. The women there are multicultural. So they're not born of one culture. They're other cultures mixed with black, right? So you can say maybe their coffee has some milk or turmeric in it, or their chocolate has some turmeric in it. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. But you get where I'm going with that. And that was not even the issue, although it became an issue based on what they said. And it ties in with what I said about let your spouse, educate your spouse on your past. I think that was the title of that episode. And the issue that I discussed mostly there was the issue of racial differences, racial perception, racial struggles, and everything that has to do with race, your race, right? Whether you've experienced it or not is not the point. The point is, does it happen? The things you're going to talk about, does it happen? So it doesn't wind up happening to you or your child. I don't know what this lady's issues are. I can guess, I think so can you. But apparently they are against interracial marriages. Like they said, what they said was they're not going to celebrate any black man who is dating or he's involved with a white-skinned woman or a lighter-skinned woman. White skin, who is white, by the way, who is not African. Like, they would not celebrate any black man who is with a non-black woman. It's because really, if we try to go white, we might go Asian, and that's a lot, right? So non-black, generally speaking. But they seem to have some grace for black women who would who would date or marry non-black men. For one, that is even imbalanced. Like the inequality there does not even make sense, right? I mean, in a world where everybody is advocating for equality, I should think that it shouldn't matter whether it's a man or a woman doing it. What matters is it the right thing? If it's not right, neither should a man or woman do it. If it is the right thing to do, it shouldn't be a problem which gender is doing it, right? But that's how they feel. And they're not going to sell it. And the worst part is that they didn't just say, it would have been manageable if they had stopped there. Stopped at, they would not celebrate biracial or interracial relationships. It would have been nice if they just, painted it there. But no, they went a step further. They said they would not celebrate their children as well. Well, it is not funny, but I can't help myself. It's just because that means they don't celebrate themselves as well, and that would mean that they resent themselves, they resent their parents, and that is a whole gamut of issues. If there is any interracial, multicultural person out there, your mixed race, let's put it that way, your mixed culture, your mixed race person, and you think this way, I think you need to have a long conversation with your parents, and I think you need therapy because, and I'm not saying that to be rude, I'm saying that out of concern, because I understand that you are trying to, you might be trying to fight in a way for Black people so that they can see that you are one of them. But let me tell you this. There is nothing you would do that will ever make them accept you if they have rejected you. So a person that has rejected you based on the fact that you are mixed race, the best they can do is just play nice, perhaps because it feels good to have someone fight their battles for them. But to really accept you, a person can pretend to accept you and still not like you. You understand what I'm saying? And it is I'm trying to find the right words right here, because I feel for them in a way, because it ties in on what I said earlier about education. I think their parents did not educate them properly on the social construct, the social divide, and the racial issues. I mean, they might have cancelled, what is it called now? Critical race theory, I mean, at the end of the day, I've watched more than 4 videos on this critical race theory thing, but I can assure you, I still don't get it. But what I can say is, educate. If you're going to go into an interracial relationship, go into it for the right reasons. That is one. It shouldn't be because you have a fetish for someone outside your race. It should be that this is the person you love, right? It's not a matter of this is the person you rather be with. Because if it is an issue of this is the race, not the person, but the race you rather be with, that you are with that person because they are not part of your race, you are going to put yourself and your children in a lot of pain. And that is not correct. That is not right. So I think, as much as I think the children have been placed, it's like they were born into a world where they are not accepted and their parents did not prepare them for it. I think that might be where the root cause of that sentiment came from. So I don't think it's that they have something against interracial marriages and their offsprings, which they also are, by the way. But I think it's just that they're angry. They are placed in a world where they are not accepted in either side. They are not accepted on their father's side. They are not accepted on their mother's side, right? And maybe their parents have gone their separate ways, and they are now left with this world where they do not fit in almost anywhere. It makes you think really deep and hard about interracial relationships. But at the same time, I am not, like I said, I think I've talked about this at one point in time, but I'm not going to give up on love because it's not from my race. I'm not going to, where love finds me, how love finds me, according to God's will, I would accept it. I pray God gives me the grace to accept it. Where love finds me, I'm not going to insist that person has to be from my race, because this is one thing I want to tell mixed race men and women, boys and girls alike. Look, you can be 100% black and still not be accepted. Because when it comes to black people, for example, you would have heard this word, we are not monolithic. I'm not going to really use it because I'm not really familiar with that word. But we are diverse as black people. We are vast, we're diverse. In a structured society like the African continent, every family has its own culture, which is different from the culture of the clan. Then you have the culture of the community or the kingdom. Then you have the culture of the tribe or the sub-tribes. All of them differ. They have similarities, but they differ. By the time you start taking regions and you start to take them from region, a region has its own set of rules, rules of engagement, and what can constitute as your identity, like what they identify as, the characteristics that they embrace as a people based on a region. Then you come down to tribes, and you come down to you start from ethnicities, then you come down to regions, then you come down to tribes, then you come down to clans, you come down to communities, you come down to kingdoms, then families. So it's possible that you can come from a community where another family, you want to marry into a family and they will reject you because they do not like the ideology that your family stands for. So what are you going to do then? You are both black. You speak the same language. You have the same roots. You come from the same community. Both of your parents are black. Not just black, they're from the same tribe. But then you can still face rejection because you at the end of the day, it's about the African society is hinged on being with people of like minds, of like ideologies, where your ideologies align, where you have an ancestry that is acceptable to the family. So in the olden days, and some families still practice it now, in the olden days, you have to investigate. And I did a tweet, I wrote a tweet in response to what someone said, which relates to this topic but does not relate that much. Apparently, what happened was that the woman, someone said they didn't want children. And then the woman went and tied her tubes. After some time, the man wanted children and he divorced her. To go and be with somebody who can give him children. Now, we have selfish people all over the place. I get that. And then I said, in response to that tweet, I said, this is one of the reasons why I think that there should be a woman-to-woman conversations with the exes of a man you are considering. A lot of people, and surprisingly, there were a lot of likes. I was probably expecting at most 10 likes, and now the likes are in their hundreds. I don't know how to feel about that, but I think that it's something to realize that a lot of people actually have thought about it. They haven't had the courage to do it, but they think it makes sense because you want to know the history of this man you're going to be with. You want to know his history with women. And you cannot, it doesn't make sense to base his history with women on what he tells you. Especially if he's not owning up to his own part of the fiasco. So if he goes, this woman did this to me, did that to me, and he's done nothing. It's not impossible that he was innocent. He didn't do anything wrong. It's not impossible. But just to be sure, I think it makes sense to, meet up with these women and have a conversation with them. Of course, you have to be very objective. You have to have an open mind. You have to be able to know how to sieve the chaff from the wheat, but at the same time you get information and you know what to work with. And someone said something, he said it takes maturity, that not many people are mature enough to handle that kind of thing, to do something like that and actually handle it. So in Africa, we investigate things. So when I said that, a lot of people were like, that doesn't make sense, it's weird and all that. But you see, in the African society, they do more than investigate. They will investigate into 4 generations backwards. They will do a background check to 4 generations backwards to find out whether the family has some disease, some inherited disease. They've done something, their ancestors have done something in the past that has affected the future generations moving forward. So they want to know exactly what they're getting themselves into. Because some families have traditions that stemmed from the misbehavior or the wickedness of an ancestor. Take, for instance, in a situation where somebody was bullied, right? Somebody was bullied or somebody was killed or something. And that person, before they died, or someone related to them placed a curse that whoever did this and that will happen to them. And then they are now seeing that manifestation from generation to generation. So if your family does that investigation and they find that out, they'll tell you, you can't marry into this family, because if you marry into this family, you also marry their problems, you marry their issues. So really, you have to understand that this has little or nothing to do with the fact that you are multiracial. It has to do with the fact that even if you were purely African, in quotes, purely, you're 100% African, there is still diversity and animosity amongst Africans. That is one. There is animosity between Africans and non-African black people. No, let me even be more specific. There is animosity between Africans and black Americans. Is that serious? So the warfare going on among black people that was there thousands, hundreds and thousands of years ago is still there now. It's just less bloody now, thank God. But it's still there. As somebody who is Ijebu who lives in Nigeria, there are many, we speak the same Yoruba, although we have languages based on tribe. But when it comes to a region, we have a language called Yoruba and we all speak that. Correct? Okay. But even that, among Yorubas, there are many people who would tell you they do not want their children to marry into my tribe, which is the Ijebu tribe. They would not want their children to marry Ijebu people. So, should I now hate my parents? For what exactly? What would I be hating them for? Do you get? Like, what would I be hating them for? What would I say? What would be the issue? So you can pin your parents for you not having acceptance. But among the black people, the only problem is that they are united against you. They're not that united. I'm sorry. And then let's talk about the ones that are non-black. There are some people, they will not marry Irish. In fact, there are some, especially if they are traditional British people. Traditional British people, they look down on Scots, people they used to colonize at some point. Let's put it that way. They have a thing against the French. They have a thing against Irish people. I mean, Irish people are trying to gain their independence, full independence right now. So there is no love lost between the Irish people and the British people. And yet, both the Irish and the British can be racist towards black people. This is too dynamic for you to pin it as, multicultural people should not. Look, among black people are multicultural. How about that? In Nigeria alone, we have over 400 ethnic nationalities with their languages, their cultures, their traditions, their way of life, their mode of dressing differs. So you have like over 400 different cultures with their peculiarities. The only similarity they have is that they have variation of dark skin. That is just it. That is just the only similarity. And maybe we all have the same name called Nigeria. That's about it. But we're very diverse. So you can have a person who is from a black community. One marries from one parent is from the north, the other one is from the south. Both cultures may reject that child because they never consented to the marriage. So, what are we now going to do about it? What I'll just say is this. If you're going into an interracial relationship with someone outside your race, just make sure you guys have the same mind about important things. You agree on things that are most important to you. That's the point of getting married, really. And you don't just... What did I just say? You don't even go into an interracial relationship. You enter into a relationship with a person because you have shared ideologies. That maybe you have shared ideologies that is not common. Like that, there are some things you strongly believe in that many people do not believe in. So when you now finally meet somebody who believes in the same things you believe in, it's a bonus. It draws you closer. Whether that will now turn into something romantic is another thing. So you don't date somebody or marry somebody because they're outside your race. You date somebody because you agree on the fundamentals. What you strongly believe in, you both agree on those things. Those are the bases on which you guys get together. Oh, and by the way, it happens that you are from two different races. By the way. That should be by the way. That shouldn't be number one. So if you have the same ideology, and then God has approved of the relationship, do you understand? God is telling you, look, your God is telling you this person is the one for you. You feel safe with this person, you feel secure with this person, you agree on a lot of things, and then you love each other. That you are from two different races shouldn't stop you, because at the end of the day, you could marry somebody or date somebody that is from your tribe or from your race, and it will be a total disaster. It happens a lot. Unless somebody is going to convince me that people of the same race never divorce, they're always happy together. Sometimes too much similarities of, can actually breed contempt eventually. Too much. There has to be a balance. There has to be a situation where you don't know each other too well. I mean, when you date somebody who is within your race, it works to a certain degree, but there is also that risk of, I know what you are about even before you speak. Like, we believe in the same things, we grew up with the same things. There is nothing new to learn about you. There's nothing new to learn about me because we all grew up in the same environment with the same culture and everything. But sometimes having to learn new things about the other person because they come from a totally different world from yours, it puts you in a position where you are more gracious to each other. It puts you in a position where you are more gracious to each other because you didn't grow up together. They don't understand your culture. You don't understand theirs. But you seem to agree on things that are most important to both of you as individuals. You understand? So I'll just put a pin on it for now. So please, whether you're accepted or rejected, a person can be, you don't gain acceptance because both of your parents are from the same culture. Even those whose parents are from the same culture, they face issues of not being accepted for different reasons. So maybe yours is that your parents are mixed, you're mixed race. Another person who is being rejected is rejected for something else. But the common trend you guys have is that you're all rejected. Many of us have been rejected for different reasons, but it doesn't change the fact that we were rejected. That's the common thing, rejection. It's not a bad idea to be a loner, where you just figure out yourself and maybe start a community of people like yourself. Instead of just staying alone and stewing alone and getting resentful, start a community of people with people of like minds, like experiences. I watched a movie once where, all the people who were bullied in school got together and said, you know what, we're going to get together so that we can fight the bullies together. So they were all bullied. And so they were all loners. But they decided that, okay, they will get together. Okay, so maybe they call them losers, but at least they are together. And they had diverse interests, but one thing they had in common, they were all bullied. So why don't you biracial, multicultural folks, why don't you start a community where it's exclusively for multicultural people, biracial people? You guys have something that 100% those who aren't mixed do not get, would not understand. But you guys understand one another on the same level.